So Jon, tell us, how did this get started for you?
Well, let's go way back in time. It's interesting. We were talking the other day in our staff meeting and said, hey, what should I talk about this week on live? And because I've already talked about the markets and there really isn't much change there. And other than the shockingly high unemployment figures of 20 million more people being out of work this week, taking us up to about 50 million people total. But there's nothing that's really changed in all the coronavirus, and things are slowly opening and all that. So I thought I'd get away from coronavirus and investment talk today and talk about how this whole thing got started. And I'm going to go way back because I don't know that anybody knows my total story. And I'm going to be talking about my book toward the end of the live segment. But I'm going to go back to my first job. And my first job was when I was 10 years old. And I used to deliver newspapers in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was born and raised in Las Vegas. And I had a route of 110 papers, which is a lot of papers on a bike. Those are back in the days when you hopped on. They delivered the papers to your house at like 4 in the morning. And 3 or 4 in the morning, and then you would have to fold them all, put rubber bands on them, stick them in bags in your bike, and ride around the neighborhood. And then at the end of the month, you would have to go collect from everyone. So there was no billing system at that point in time. It was just all collections, and then you would turn in the collections to the newspaper, and you got to keep any tips that you got. So it was basically an unpaid position. And so I can say that my first job was an unpaid job, and it was fun, it was exciting, but it was very hard and it was very tedious. And I don't remember how long I did that, but it was quite a long period of time. But here's why I tell that story. The reason why I tell that story is because once a month I got to learn how it is to work with people and work with people's personalities and find out what it is about people and money that is either good or bad, or how they react to things, or how they tell you things like that. Because I got to meet 110 of my neighbors every month and say hi to them and collect money from them. And I think that some of the things that our society has lost today is the ability to communicate on a respectful manner and exchange conversation while exchanging money. And that's because, and this was even happening before coronavirus, is everything is done online. Everything is done through automatic payment methods. So there's no interaction. And it's created a situation, in my opinion, where communication skills are severely going down with, I think, a lot of the population. So as I progress through life, and as many of you that listen to this progress through life, what I'd like you to take away from it is think about in your life things that you've done to create in your life, just create, whether it's creating a family or creating a business or creating a piece of art, just the things that you create and how you work within a structure of other people to explain to them and be proud of what you've created, without being ashamed of what you've created. And I think that there's a lot of shaming going on in the world. And I think there's a lot of people that just get very mad at differing opinions. And it's really too bad. So after 10, I then volunteered. My second job was also an unpaid position. But I made good tips on the first one. The second one,
I said you weren't a very smart kid.
I wasn't a very smart kid, but it's funny. I was on Facebook today, and somebody was talking about something, and it was about servers, food servers, and how people are idiots to take a job where their income, where they don't get at least minimum wage for a job. I happen to disagree with that opinion that was expressed this morning that I was reading. And I say, I think everyone should take a job that has no minimum wage, because then you truly learn what it's like to earn a living from scratch.
You appreciate it more.
You appreciate it more. So my second job was when I was 13 years old, and I was a kennel boy for a vet. And I was a volunteer for the first, oh gosh, it must have been almost 2 years because I was too young to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not 2 years, but yeah, about 15. So so I would go in after school and I would clean kennels and I would watch procedures and I would learn all about it. And I wanted to be a vet at that point in time. So it was very interesting to me. It was intriguing to me. And my income for that was all of the experience I got in working with animals that are harder to communicate with and understanding ways of nonverbal communication as well as verbal communication. And I also got to work with a plethora of clients and doctors whose also communication types are different, the archetypes that they call them of people and how they communicate. So I actually learned a lot, and it was actually very valuable for me. And my first paycheck that I actually earned was when I was, I think, 14 or 15. And I'm going to say it's right about the time when Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen came out. So I can't remember if that was 74 or 75, but that's about the time that I started earning a paycheck. And minimum wage at that time was $1.75, and that's what I was getting paid. So I was like, thrilled because, hey, I got a paycheck. And after years of work. So I worked for this particular vet until about the age of 17. And then after that, ended up doing some other odd jobs and going back to a vet and worked for that second vet till the age of 20 through my first couple years of college. And I started college as pre-vet. And I ended up not staying in that and going into business. I after some experience in life, I felt that I liked business just as much. And my college that I was at, where it was pre-vet, was going to be 8 years in Ames, Iowa. And I couldn't take the cold weather. It was murder, those 40, 50 below, weeks and months.
No, thank you.
Crazy. So I ended up going back to Las Vegas and staying in working
one
for
extreme to the other, by the way. That was one extreme to the other, by the way.
One extreme to the other, absolutely. Absolutely. So I did that and then finished my degree in business in 1983 and went to work for New York Life, another non-paid position. So it was all commission, and you had to get out there and hustle and talk to people and learn how to talk to 100 people a week or a day, or it was 100 people a week, but it was all face to face. Yeah, it wasn't cold call in life insurance in those days. It wasn't a cold call kind of thing, but it was getting out and talking to people and or making warm calls off other people and figuring out how to sell 10 policies a week. And I was very successful at it. I was the youngest $1 million roundtable. Is an industry. It's actually a worldwide organization for life insurance agents. And you have to meet certain criteria to become a member of $1 Million Roundtable. They have big meetings and worldwide meetings. Very cool organization. Very high end. Very successful people that have worked very hard in their life. And in my first 12 months, my first full 12 months with New York Life, I became a $1 Million Roundtable member. At the time, I was the youngest $1 Million Roundtable member. I think that there's others that have been younger than me, but I was 24 years old. 23 when I started, 24 when I finished. Became $1 Million Roundtable member and was in various areas with New York Life, had won several awards for counsel, meeting certain sales goals and for certain types of policies and all that. So it taught me the value of working hard and learning to do things for yourself and for others based on your ability to be persistent and to come up with solutions. So it made me very solution oriented in life.